Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Bobrowski, and I am a travel specialist at Departures Travel in Sydney, BC. And I am working on a voyage that goes up the Amazon River. It's the Amazon Explorer with the Regent Seven Seas. And I know some of you have not, were not at the original or first presentation done by Regent. And this is a continuation of that. So I hope you enjoy. Just one moment. Okay, I will get started. So the Amazon Explorer will set sail on the 14th of November, 2021 for 24 days. And it is on the Regent Mariner. And because a number of people are on this presentation that were not at the previous presentation, I'll go through a few of the pictures of the ship and just talk a little bit about Regent before I get into the excursions and tours. So first, if you want to ask any questions during the presentation, you can send them via comments on Facebook Live. Or alternatively, you can email me at the email address here, teresa@departurestravel.com, or alternatively, contact a Departures Travel consultant directly if you are working with someone. So Regent is in a good position right now. Their position is true cruisers love to cruise, and they're not going to stop even as a result of COVID. So it's just waiting for the right time. With regards to the vessels, Regent has 5 vessels, of which none had COVID outbreaks. 45% of their travelers and guests have rebooked, not canceled. So that demonstrates their confidence in Regent moving forward in COVID-19. And Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings is in a positive position to operate without any sailings for the next 18 months. So it will be quite a while before there are any real issues. Some of what's anticipated with COVID, they will be doing temperature checks, and that I think we'll find is a norm, whether we're flying, sailing, however we're traveling. The ventilation systems on the ships are being upgraded to HEPA 13 grade, hospital grade, and that will be in all public areas, all staterooms and suites. So it's all over the ship. And CDC protocols are in the process of being implemented, the ones that are known, and they will be evolving their protocols as information is released by the CDC. And a big thing is ships will have lower occupancy. They are not going to sell the ships out until there is a point in time in the future when it is safe to do so. As well, the excursions are going to be smaller, so it won't be a full coach. If it's a coach tour, just all of them will be reduced in size. Now, I just want to go through quickly a few pictures of the ship, just to give an idea of how beautiful and luxurious the ship is. So this is the main atrium, and you will see this if you board the ship. That'll be one of the first areas you'll see on the ship. And one of the lounges on the ship for cocktails, this is where, on this particular ship, this is where people go for pre-dinner cocktails. It's actually a really fun spot on the ship. Observation lounge, a lot of people come up here early in the morning or when the ship is leaving port because they like to watch the ships as they come into port. They like to watch what's going on. Star Lounge nightclub, well, that says it all. It's a nightclub. There might be dancing. It won't be like a nightclub you would go to like on South Beach in Miami, for example. It's a little bit more subdued than that. Coffee connection, all beverages are included, so you can go here in the morning all throughout the day. Constellation Theater, Regent does have an enrichment program, so any of their lecturers would do presentations in here, as well as their evening shows, which they do sort of Broadway type shows, and whether it's comedians, magicians, there's entertainment every night. They have a fabulous library. So it's one of those things, if you don't want to fill your suitcase full of books and you don't have a Kobo or Kindle, this would be a great spot for you. And this is the minimum suite you would get on this ship. The Regent prides itself in having all suite only, so all staterooms or suites are 300 square feet or more. So very comfortable, especially on a journey like this of 24 days where you are going to want some space and have somewhere to go to. And then the main dining room is, again, very lovely. This is where you could sit with others or just sit on your own. And it's all open dining on Regent, which is really nice. So you go when you prefer to dine, and the service is exemplary. They have specialty restaurants. So they have a steak and seafood house, which is very well known. It's considered to be one of the better steak houses at sea, and quite wonderful. They have a classic French restaurant as well. And these are, the specialty restaurants are by reservation, but they're not for fees. So you can just book and go, not like some of the premium cruise lines where that's an added cost. And then in the morning, you know, if you're getting ready to go for an excursion, there's La Veranda, and this is where there's casual dining by day. It's buffet, but it'll be no touch. However, this evolves based on the CDC protocols. This will be where you go for casual dining, but people will not be handling the spoons and serving themselves. That's what's meant by no touch. And then in the evening, that same space converts to a really wonderful little Italian restaurant. It's very good. I've eaten at this many times. And so we've seen a bit of the ship, so you have a sense of the level of luxury. And there are 5 pillars of Regent Seven Seas, and I'm focusing in on this talk on the immersive exploration, because this is sort of the next phase for people who have already booked or who are thinking about booking. So they have 71 free shore excursions, and you can't do them all, of course. Well, if you could, you'd be allowed to, but they have a number of different excursions in each port, and I'm going to get into some examples, but they are quite extensive. So I'm only showing a couple for each port, but in behind that, there are many others. There's a lot of walking tours, there's accessible tours for people with mobility issues. So lots of interesting stuff. And the only caution at this point with what I'm showing is, with all the change that COVID is bringing, some of these options may change because a supplier has is unable to achieve the CDC protocols, because Regent will require that of all the people and tour operators on shore that will be providing service to their guests. Now, the first stop, there are some stops in the Caribbean. So Gustavia and St. Bart's is, this is a really nice stop. Right now, there are no other ships in port. So we will be the only ship there, which means it will not be sort of hectic with other guests from other ships and that. So the one that appealed the most to me was this trekking where you go down ultimately to a beach, but you're not on a coach. You get off the ship, you're walking, you're out in the fresh air. So this is one of the ones that I felt would appeal to a lot of people. And then there is a semi-submersible tour. And this one is a lot of fun, of course, because you go down to the Caribbean and they have just so many exotic fish and so much exotic marine life. So this one I thought was fun. And this one is one of the ones that are included. And then this is a sample of Regent Choice. And what Regent Choice or their executive shore excursions are is where there is a supplemental fee. So in this case, the ATV tour on the island, there is a fee for this, and you could pay the supplement, or you can just enjoy one of the included ones. So Castries is the next island, and this one has an interesting one. It's snuba, and that's not a typo. It's not. It shouldn't be scuba, where the air supply is up top and the but you don't have a full dive suit on. You're able to just, it follows you around and you can swim freely, a little bit more sophisticated than snorkeling. But this island, I did notice that there are a number of ships in port that day. So this is the only port where we might find it a little bit busier, but still there's one bigger ship, but there's a couple small ships. So it shouldn't be too bad. And then another free excursion, this one just looked like a lot of fun. They have this aerial tram that they take you out in over the jungle, and they have someone there who's able to identify and talk about the plants and the maybe animals you might see. There's you know, exotic birds and that. So this one looked like a lot of fun, and this one's nice because it's short. So you can go and you can enjoy time in the jungle, but then you can maybe spend time in Castries, or you can perhaps go on a second excursion in the afternoon. So that could be an option. And this one in the Regent choice for the one with the supplemental fee, there's an island spices and cooking tour, and they have a culinary center there. And this one I understand is very, very popular. So it would be something, as soon as excursions were to open up, this is something you would sign up for early and sort of to guarantee a seat, because there's only 14 seats available on this, and that was pre-COVID, so there may be fewer come time when this cruise sails. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain, this one is neat. They have a bird sanctuary. Sorry, I've just noticed a typo. And what's really wonderful here is these ibis. They are red in color, or pinky red in color, and it's from their diet. But it's they're very well known for this. They're very proud of this bird. It's the sort of their national bird. And also, it's this is in a wetland, and it is of international importance. So 20 endangered species live in this sanctuary. And for those who are birders, this is something you can arrange a private tour. It would be for fee, but you can go out with someone on a private bird watching tour. And I know there are a lot of people who enjoy birding. So, and another free excursion is the Asa Wright Nature Center. This is an education and conservation center, and it's one of the first ones. It was doing ecotourism before the term ecotourism was coined. So it's very well known. It's very good quality. So this isn't a spot, if anyone is into sort of the flora and fauna of the Caribbean area, Trinidad and Tobago, this would be a good one. Sample Regent Choice, and then a few private ones. So Regent Choice, it's 4x4 tour around the island. There'd be like 3 or 4 people in a vehicle. Or in most ports, you're able to arrange for a private vehicle, and this would be for fee. But this is a nice option if you really just want to get away, have a nice drive, stop at your leisure. That'd be a nice one. And private, there's snorkeling, there's street food tours. There are a lot of private tours available. I mean, Regent chooses, they have a suite of excursions and tours. And then after that, there's almost always something else available. If there's, you know, don't appeal, or there's something specific you want to do or see on a particular island or in a particular port. So the next stop is Macapa, Brazil, and this is a custom stop. So we'll only be in this port for about an hour to go through the customs formalities for the ship to have them authorize us to go up the Amazon River. And this is really where it gets quite interesting, because this particular voyage spends 8 days on the Amazon, which is more than a lot. A lot of the ships will spend 6. So it really allows time to enjoy and sort of revel in this incredible river. So Santarém is the first stop, and this one, it almost goes without saying that you would do the river tour to see the merging of the waters of the Amazon and the Atlantic. So very good, and you know, in this case, there's some dolphins, which are very probable that we'll see them. And then there will be, we'll go to Mako Lake, where we will be shown some of the flora and fauna. And if the river conditions are right, anyone who would like to, they will show us how to fish for piranha. I'm not sure I'd do that, but I would certainly enjoy watching it. And another free shore excursion is to go in the jungle and actually do a trek with a naturalist. So, you know, this is something you'd have to have good mobility for, but this one is, they'll take you in, they'll talk about some of the difficulties, you know, with overforesting. They'll hopefully will be able to see some animals and birds. They say you will see a lot of birds. So this one is, again, this is a really nice one. And this is the first time we'll actually get right into that jungle. And that's why a lot of people would do a voyage like this, to actually see the jungle. Now we get to Boca de Valeria, and this really, it is a village, and some cruise ships stop here, and you can just wander around the village and, you know, see how they live in this village and see some of the boats and really get a sense of life on the Amazon, where it really is, it's so isolated. It is a whole different world than what we're all used to. Manaus, this is, well, this will be an incredible stop. There's one of the tours in particular is the Best of Manaus. I thought this one was really great because it gets to sort of all the main spots, and you get to the very famed opera house that has sort of risen out of a derelict state and is absolutely the pride of Manaus. It's an incredible place. And also, this tour includes going to an Amazonian research station, and we'll be able to see animals and that are endangered, as well as some exotic orchids and that. And personally, I'm a freak for orchids, so that would definitely be on my list, whether it's on this tour or not. So that is one of the free ones. And this one is, I believe this one is about 7 hours in length. So it's a good day of touring. And then pink dolphin encounter. Well, these, we should see these even just from the ship. And this one is another one on the journey to where we will see the dolphins, like sort of a guaranteed sighting. They say that there will be a wealth of tropical birds along the way, and we will be, you know, that in itself is supposed to be quite dazzling because of how exotic the birds are in Brazil and in the Amazon. You know, I do, with this one, the only thing I say is I personally maybe wouldn't want to get in the water with the dolphins. They do allow that. So anyhow, this one would be fun, though. They're really interesting creatures. Now in Manaus, there's Regent Choice. They also have a Best of Manaus, and that one, when it's a Regent Choice and executive, that means it's going to be a smaller group. So they do it in a larger group, and then for a fee, a supplement, you get into a smaller group. As well, like in most of the ports, you can arrange for a private car and driver. And then I was looking at the private ones because I thought Manaus is where you can really get into the jungle. Like this is sort of the stepping stone. A lot of people will fly into Manaus to go into the jungle. And they have some interesting ones, like there's a jungle survival training. You can go for half a day or a full day, and it's ex-military do the training. So I think that would be fascinating. And then tree climbing, you go up and you're in sort of climbing ropes and that, and you go up into the jungle canopy. And they have caves and jungle and cave walk, and there's waterfalls. And this one looked quite interesting. Again, it's not offered right now. It's not a Regent option, but it is an option if you find that what they have on offer is not quite what you're looking for. And then another one, I'm looking into this one right now, and it's an eco lodge overnight with a jungle experience. And so what happens is you're met at the port, and you'll be taken to an eco lodge, and you spend the day, and they do different types of tours. Like one might be a birding tour, one might be to go up the river in a canoe. So there's a variety of options that you can choose. And then you overnight, and then you do another tour in the morning, and they bring you out to the ship, because in Manaus they do overnight. So you have 2 days of touring there, and rightly so. It's there's so much to see and do there. So really great. And then we're now going to head back up the river out towards the Atlantic. So in Perintin, it's a very small town, and they have something, it's called the Boy Bumba Festival, and it's every year. And what they do is they reenact elements of this show for cruise guests at their conference center. And it's, again, it's supposed to be quite beautiful in that. There are some other tours that I can arrange, like there's one where you can go around the town on with a local, and they'll take you around and show you various places. I'm collecting information on that, and I'll have more soon, but not right now. And that was it for excursions with Regent. And so Alter de Chao there are no Regent shore excursions in this spot. It is a small island, and it really is, it's sort of where the locals go to get away for the weekend to the beach. Very beautiful, quaint cottages, the beautiful white sands, and there are Indian handicrafts available. So there's going to be little shops or kiosk type things. But I am able to arrange private tours here. And one of them goes to an area in the jungle where they walk you through and, again, show you a lot of the wildlife and that. It's a little bit rugged. It's not really well developed. So sort of mixed reviews from tourists and guests. It's this one, sorry, the Santa Lucia Arboretum, excuse me. And but I need to do this privately. I need to have 20 people. So it really depends on how many people join this group and whether I can find other people who are on the ship and interested but not part of the group. And this one, again, guides have limited English because it isn't visited very frequently by the cruise guests. That sort of can make it difficult, but it gets very good reviews from just sort of your traveler. They've maybe gone to Alter de Chao and they go here, and it's, yeah, quite nice. Now we've left the Amazon and we've headed, and we're in Bridgetown, Barbados. And this one, it has a photographer, a local sort of celebrity photographer in Barbados, takes a group out and takes them to great spots for photos and that. And this one is really, people really love it. It is limited in size because the photographer is helping people to get great shots. And so this one would be something if you're sort of a camera bug and you are interested in photography, this one would be a great one to get on. And then there's a beach break, very well known. This beach is super popular. It's just absolutely classic Caribbean beach. So again, free, very beautiful. And you know, if that's what you want, you've been traveling for a while now. You're probably at about day 18 of the cruise or the voyage. You might find just sort of, you know, flaking out on a beautiful beach would fit the hit the spot. And this one is interesting. There's some caves. So Harrison Cave is a Regent choice. So there is a fee for this one. And why I highlighted this one is it is an accessible tour. So people with mobility issues are going to find this one more exotic than a lot of the accessible tours are, and quite interesting. I mean, caves are quite fascinating. Now we're in the Grenadines, so we're in St. Vincent, Kingstown, and they are known for their gardens. So this is a botanical garden, very well respected. So again, one of the things about the Caribbean is the incredible flora, and this would be great for anyone who's into gardens, gardening, and learning about it as well. Another one is kayaking and snorkeling adventure. You know, it's almost goes without saying that you have to get onto the water in a small boat when you're in the Caribbean. So this one is just good, clean fun, and again, included. So, and they always say, you know, have your bathing suit on underneath, because you will get in the water unless you don't want to snorkel. And the Regent choice in Kingstown is Beckway by us on a small catamaran. And when I was trying to find pictures for this, I was just stunned. This is a beautiful, beautiful stop. And whether you do a private tour or you do the Regent choice one and pay their supplement, this one is definitely would be a highlight. So now we're in Roseau, Dominica, and this is really interesting, the Champagne Reef snorkeling, because as you can see in the picture, there's all these bubbles. And so you go in here and snorkel, and they have, you know, I go on the internet and there's all these pictures of people in these bubbles, and it's all because of geothermals, because it's a highly volcanic island. It's so really super tour, and this one's included. And this one's really nice. It's Bois Cotelet Estate in Roseau, Dominica, and it is an enrichment tour with a local anthropologist. And this is some of the best preserved, like, plantation architecture and plantation site on the island. And you know, this is for people who want to learn about some of the history of what went on, you know, during slavery, and to get a better understanding of what life was like at the time. So this is another highlight of Roseau for a excursion. And this one, in Dominica, the Regent choice is car and driver, so private touring around Dominica with, so stop and go as you please. And the private touring with the car and driver, frequently there's a multiple choice in terms of number of hours, like sometimes you go for 4, 6, or 8 hours. So again, you can structure it so maybe you go for a private tour for, you know, 4 hours, and then do one of the shorter tours in the afternoon, or vice versa. And again, looking at private options, because Dominica is a really neat, it's a very neat island, and has a lot to see. And they have a chef's home and Creole lunch, where the chef talks about the you know, the culture of the food and makes a lunch, which is something, and then you eat which is always a nice thing. Birding tours, almost always, you can find some sort of birding tour on many of the Caribbean islands, and they're always, again, quite nice because of the how exotic some of these birds are. And there is scuba diving as well, which I know often people going into the Caribbean, they either want to get in the water and snorkel or scuba dive because they have such fabulous diving. So we've moved on now. We're in the British Virgin Islands in Tortola, and they have one of the free excursions. It was quite interesting. They go to the historical sites. So there's a 400-year-old rum distillery that still operates, and so this is one picture from in the distillery. But they also have Sunday Morning Well, which is the site of the emancipation of the slaves in the British Virgin Islands. So this is, historically, it's like very relevant right now, I think, in terms of our current environment. So I would highly recommend the historical sites. The Caribbean has a very colorful history, so you always learn something on these, and they're usually quite eye-opening. So another free excursion is Escape to Joost van Dyke, and this is another one. It's almost a must-do. It's absolutely, people love it, and it's just about sort of your classic Caribbean experience with that beautiful sea, sand as far as you can see, and just absolutely relaxing. So the one with this one, the boats, you're on smaller boats and they take you in, and you actually have to get out of the boat and swim to shore. So this one, there's no pier. So that would just be something I'd want people to be aware of, if they're on this journey and they decide that it's something they would like to do. So just one of those little things, good to know. And this one, Regent Choice, there is a shipwreck there, and this is a picture, very spectacular, and a lot of people come here, and divers will come here to see this particular wreck. And so again, there is a fee for this, but I think it would be well worth it if you are a diver and you're certified. So a number of options, again, private. I always say, if you've taken the time to go on a voyage somewhere and an excursion that's offered doesn't appeal, it's a shame not to do what you want. So there's kayaking and paddleboarding in a mangrove. And again, this is a very popular tour. You can arrange a speedboat and they will literally zip you all over the place. So you get a lot of, you cover a lot of ground or water. And then there's hiking in the Sage Mountain National Park. Now this is for people who are sure-footed in that, like if it's rained, it can be muddy and slippery, but again, it's not something you're not going to be with like hundreds of other people. This is going to be a physical distancing, which is something we're all thinking about right now. So that would appeal to people who just like to get off the beaten path. And they have a half-day wellness retreat. There's a resort, and what they do is you come in and there's yoga out on the beach, and they have a very healthy meal for after yoga, and then you just spend time on the beach, and then you're taken back to the ship or to wherever you'd like to go back to if you want to go to town and like into Tortola and look around before going back to the ship. So again, it's one of those things, there's the included excursions, but there are so many private options that I'm just sort of skimming the surface in terms of presenting what the possibilities are. However, I do go back to the fact that Regent does try and appeal to a wide range of interests, right from doing what they call a panoramic tour, which really translates into you're on a bus, you drive around, you might get off the bus, take a few pictures, and then they bring you back to the port, and then you have time on your own. And these are great for people with mobility issues, but people who want to do a bit more, they try to appeal to all. Now, that is it for ports, and then we end up back in Miami where we disembark. And I just want to revisit the current offer with Regent Cruises. It expires at the end of this month, July 31st, where they have an offer for 50% reduced deposit. So it works out roughly just over $2,000 deposit. And there is, they're offering their Regent Reassurance program to be included. And what that does is there's a cancellation fee structure in place until final payment. And after final payment, this reassurance program kicks in and allows people to cancel for any reason 15 days prior to travel. And that date can change depending on whether you do air with Regent or if you do your own air. But that's something that can be discussed in detail. And then they are offering $1,000 US shipboard credit for the suite. And so I go back to the excursions that are for fee, like maybe private car and driver, or some of the Regent choice, like going to the cooking culinary center, and that $1,000 goes a long way towards enhancing or sort of taking advantage of some of the excursions that are not included. And because that shipboard credit can be used for excursions. And then because I have a group on this sailing, the group amenity is an additional $400 for the suite. And then the agency I work for is part of the Ensemble Travel Group, and they have an amenity on that sailing which includes another $200 US. So in total, there's $1,600 shipboard credit that can be put towards excursions, or if you so choose, you can spend time in the spa. They have a wonderful spa on board. But just when you're thinking about the excursions, that shipboard credit will go a long way. And so that's really, I've covered the excursions, some of the private options, some of the for fee options, as well as a number of the included excursions. And again, there are many more included excursions, but I tried to highlight just to give an understanding of the range of excursions that are being offered, so that you can understand what you might do, or understand how you might be able to build this into just this incredible journey for yourself. And okay, so that I've covered. And now I am looking on my phone to see if there's any comments through my live feed, and I don't see any right now. But if you have any questions, you can email me. I've left the email up here, and you can jot it down. It will also be on Facebook Live. The video will be available to revisit. Or if you are already working with a consultant at Departures Travel and you have any questions at all, even if it's just to find out a little bit more about this journey and information about it, you can certainly please contact them directly. They'll be able to help you with anything as well. And other than that, I will close off. I don't want to take any more of your time up, and we can chat later. Thank you.